Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. So I'll be doing the talking, the demos, and also helping to answer any questions that you might have along the way. Today, we're joined by Jackie, who will be in the background helping to answer those questions that you submit. Just so you know what's going to be happening during the session, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started by looking at the dashboard in Sage 50 Accounts. So not much to the housekeeping. So just let you know, you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one and you've enabled it, you'll find it's muted automatically. So you don't need one at all. As long as you can hear and you can see what's happening, that's going to be fine. Now that means you can't verbally ask us any questions, but you can pop them into the questions panel. To access the questions panel, just on your toolbar down the right, you just need to click that little icon, the one that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark. It'll expand the panel. You'll get that little box at the bottom right-hand corner, and that's how you can engage with us. So any questions or comments, pop them in there, and we try our best to pick them up. Expecting it to be a very busy session today, so do bear with us. As I say, it's myself doing the demos and Jackie's there in the background answering any questions. So we'll try our best to pick as many of those up as we can. Quite a simple topic today, quite a simple option within the software, but chances are likely is you've never used it before. And I'll ask you about that in just a moment. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, you can download that via the handouts option. All of the detailed information that we're going to cover today, or the detailed information that relates to what we're covering today, is available via our help center. So if you want more information about the little widgets that we're going to be covering, etc., then you'll have that information available to you. But keep your questions coming. We'll hang around for questions at the end as well. Again, trying to pick up as many as we can. Let's have a look at what we're going to be covering. So a little bit of background to what the business dashboard actually is. We'll then just run through a demonstration. So it's going to be a quick demonstration showing you how you can get started. So you'll be up and running very, very quickly. How you go about editing dashboards, how you go about, well, we'll introduce what widgets are and how you go about adding widgets and amending them. And also how you can share your dashboards both internally within Sage, if you've got colleagues who you want to set them up for, and also how you can share them externally as well. So if you want to take that information and share it with a colleague that maybe doesn't use Sage 50 accounts, or maybe pop it into a presentation, that type of thing, then we'll show you how easy that can be as well. Just at the end, we'll hang around and trying to pick up as many additional questions as we can. Also a little plug for some of the webinars that we've got coming up as well. Now you will, as normal, you will receive a follow-up email. That follow-up email will include links, so you can register for other sessions that we've got planned in. Loads of those. You can currently book up to the end of August. I think that's as far as the timetable goes at the moment. So get yourself registered if you are interested in any of those sessions. They're all free to attend. Also on that email, there'll be a link both to a recording of a dashboard session, so you can have a bit of a recap if needed, and also so you can watch recordings of other topics as well. So if you're just new to webinars and you're maybe starting to look at a certain area, or maybe you just need a little bit of reassurance that your understanding of a certain topic or option within the software is right, then do make use of those recordings. There's loads available. If anything you can't find, let us know. There's a link on there via the page that you'll link to where you can request a topic as well. Anyway, we'll get started. So a little bit of background, first of all, if you don't mind. So I'll get you involved with just by running a quick poll. So I'll pop that on your screens for you. So if you don't mind, just let me know. Have you used the business dashboard before? So just give me a yes or a no. Or if you've never even heard of it prior to registering for the webinar or even attending today, then choose that last option. So it just gives us an idea of the background. It's not going to really influence the way that or what we change, what we cover today, because we will be running through it. But it's always interesting to know who's actually maybe aware of the session, the option, who's using it, who's not. And those of you that have never heard of it before at all, maybe just along today to see what it's all about. Right, okay, excellent. We've got loads of you having voted there. So I'll just close that poll, and what I'll do is I'll quickly share it with you just so you can see that as well. So we got 22% of you that are using the dashboard. just over half of you aren't, but probably you may be aware of it. Maybe you've seen that option. Maybe you've seen the little video that we share here and there as well. And about a quarter of you have not heard of it prior to signing up for the webinar. So hopefully you're along to have a quick look at it today. You can obviously make up your own mind whether you want to use that or not. Really simple feature though. Right, let's just hide that and we'll get started with the webinar itself. So a little bit of background to start with. So what actually is the business dashboard? So basically it's the dashboard, and as you'd probably gather from the word dashboard, that it's going to be visual. So it's going to be an overview of your information. So it makes it easy to stay on top of your key business data, provides you with obviously that visual overview of your company performance. So it brings together information from multiple reports and presents that in that visual form, that business dashboard. Now there are standard dashboards which you can set up very, very quickly, and you'll see that in the demonstration today. So there's 3 standard ones. It'll probably take you about 30 seconds to set those up. Which I'll be starting from scratch with the dashboards today. So they are very, very simple, quick to have a go of. So you're not going to have to invest a lot of time trying to understand what they're all about. And obviously you can create your own as well. And you can also modify the standard one. So if you think, well, actually that standard one, it's got pretty much what I want, but actually I don't want that information, but if I could only add maybe some customer information into it, it would be spot on. So you can amend them, but there are 3 standard dashboards that you're provided with. Now, availability-wise, dashboards was introduced on version 28. It's available in all levels of the software, and your software must be activated as Sage 50 Cloud accounts. So it doesn't matter whether you're on Essential, Standard, or Professional. As long as you've got the correct license in there, then you should have the dashboards option available. Now, there were some extra, what we term widgets, made available in version 28.1. So assuming you've got all the up-to-date info, you're up to date. So if you're on 28.1 or 29, then you will have all the functionality available to you. Now, if you still can't see it, do check your version, your license, and then beyond that, your level of access. So is it whoever logs in as manager? Have they amended your access rights or your access levels, as we now refer to them as? Have they amended that so that you don't have access to the dashboard option? But other than that, you should have access to it. So I'm sure there's some of you today that will say, well, I can't see it in my software. So version, your license, and beyond that, your level of access. If you log in as a manager into the software, then it's not going to be your level of access, because manager will have access to everything. Now there's a link if you have downloaded the handout via the toolbar on the right. The link, these green buttons that I keep on the slides on the right hand side there, there's your guide to getting started with dashboards. And there's another one on the subsequent slide that I'm going to show you, which is all about the available widgets. This information is very easy to find within the Help Center though. Right, so we're going to run through a demonstration at this point. And we're going to look at the basics of getting started, editing dashboards, adding widgets, and also sharing your dashboard. So I'll share my screen at this point. So you should see my desktop. Now what I've done is I have increased the resolution on my monitor just so we can see that a little bit more. Normally I like to keep my resolution really low to make things as simple as possible. So I'm trying to find that happy place at the moment, somewhere in between you being able to see what's on my screen, not making it too small, and also being able to see enough information so that you can see what the dashboards look like. Right, now to access the dashboards, we're just going to go onto the business dashboard option on the toolbar on the left there. So 3rd option down, business dashboard. You may find it's possibly even the 4th option down, depending on the version of the software that you're running. But on version 29, 3rd option, business dashboard. So we just give it a click, it'll take you onto this screen. Again, depending on your version, so if you're on 28 or 28.1, you may find your screen looks just a little bit different. Similar options though. So we got the standard dashboards available: business overview, supplier overview, and customer overview. So what I'll do is I'll just select all three. So just so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll click the create the selected dashboards. If you want to ignore these for the time being, you could just create your own dashboard from scratch. But we'll start with the three standard ones. So select all three. It tells me it's creating the dashboard. So simple progress bar there, really quick, and that's the three of them created at that point. So as I mentioned, it's really simple to get up and running with these. You can't do any harm by having a go of the dashboards either. It's a bit like running a report in the software. You can't do any harm by running a report. It's not going to change any of your information. Faith, you mentioned that you're on version 29. It's a multi-user license. You've got total access. If you've got full access and you're on version 29, then it's probably going to come down to your license. So you may not have the correct license entered within your software. So if you need to check that, just get in touch with our support team. Anyway, we've got the three dashboards created. So you can see we've got this sort of panel which we can collapse if we need to, just to give us that little bit more space. We've got the three icons on the side here, so might as well start with the business dashboard. Just click onto it, and these panels are what we would term widgets. So when you start reading the information in our help center about the information that can be displayed, they'll be referred to as widgets. So on the business overview, as an example, we've got the profit and loss. You've got a VAT liability panel. You've got business liquidity. You've got a summary of money in, money out. And then you've got a debtor days option as well. Now these can be amended. So you can edit your dashboard, you can pick and choose, you can resize the options, and you can amend the individual widgets themselves if needed. Now those dashboards have been created for me now, so at any time when I'm working in the software, I want to get back to them, just click back to business dashboard. There is the refresh option, obviously to make sure you're on the latest information when you first go in. Always click refresh, it'll rebuild that dashboard for you. Make sure that you've got the latest data on there. So that's the business overview one, that's the standard one. The supplier, so as we can see, we've got top suppliers, we've got trade creditors, we've got overdue supplier invoices, so again a summary. So the idea is we're not having to run a report to see who our top suppliers are, or an aged creditors report, or an overdue supplier balance report, that type of thing, disputed supplier transactions. And then if we go on to the customer overview, we've got a similar layout. Right, now let's just go back to the business overview for a moment. So quick mention there from Helge, what's the time frame of the data? It depends, obviously depends what it's actually looking at. So your profit and loss, it's going to be, in this case, it would be for your financial year. Now, if you want to amend a specific widget, so if we just choose the profit and loss as an example, it's probably the first, that sort of level of information springs to mind when you're thinking about a business dashboard. What's the overview? What position am I in? So if we want to amend a specific widget, you've got your little sort of cog icon to take you into the settings for that widget. So I just click onto it, graze the others out in the background for the time being, and then we can choose what is it we want to do. Now we can rename the widget from its standard description if needed. So if in your company you prefer to call it an income and expenditure report as opposed to a profit and loss, then you can do that. You've got various options. So for profit and loss, I can choose to show a previous year if I want to. I could show the monthly breakdown. Maybe I want to show net profit. And at the same time, you can resize it as well. So if you maybe that's the only one you want to see. but you can resize them. You can also drag them into a different position as well. So if I want my business, I'll just click on the tick first of all. Obviously it'll hold that for you. So if I needed to, I can click into edit and I can start amending the positions as well. Now, different widgets or different panels will have different options. So when I click on the settings for business liquidity, for instance, it'll ask me, right, which are the nominal codes in this case that you want to be included in that calculation. All of your question there, you mentioned you can only see your business dashboard. You don't seem to have the supplier or customer dashboard, and you're logged in as manager. So I created those three. So I selected those three when I first went into the business dashboard. I'm going to show you how to create maybe new dashboards in just a second as well. So again, choose on your panel, choose what you want to include. So I can choose, say, for the cash area, for instance, I can choose which of my bank accounts that I've got set up, which of those do I want to include in that figure? And then once I was happy with that one, tick the tick, or click on the tick, I should say, tick the tick, click the tick, that sounds a bit better, and that'll be it done. So it'll just rebuild that information for you. So loads of options. Let's have a look if we want to edit a dashboard. So a little bit different from editing an individual via this little panel. So I'm just going to click edit. And what this does, it gives us a list of the widgets that are available. Now, when I created the dashboards, the three that I've created so far, it's obviously popped some of these on there already. So for this business overview that we're looking at the moment, scroll down, you can see the type of information that you might want to include on there. So they're all listed. Probably gone a little bit too fast there. So you've got the profit and loss one, for instance, that one is already on here. So there's a standard list. That list and how they calculate the various widgets and what they show, that is available in our help center. So there's a great article about what information you can add to your business dashboard. Now, if you did want to add one, and you're not restricted, this business overview, for instance, I'm not restricted as to saying, right, well, you can't add customer information to that one. If I want to combine, say, my business overview and my customer overview, I can do that. It's just a case of me finding the widgets that I want to include. So top customers, I'll just click add widget, and it'll pop it onto the bottom there for me. Once I'm happy with that one, I can then finish editing, and it'll pull that information through for me. And then if I want to amend the information that I have available within, say, top customers, I would just click on the little cog, and then we can start configuring, right, what is it you want to show on there? Is it top customers that by outstanding balance, by turnover? Do you want to show the net amount, the gross amount, etc.? And when you're done, click on the little tick, and that's it done. So really easy. So I would obviously encourage you to have a go. If anyone, Teresa, you mentioned you're getting an error on the P&L widget. If you got anything like that, obviously we wouldn't expect you to get any errors when you're running or using the dashboards. So any problems like that, and that goes for anything else in your software, you know, if you experience an error message or whatever your problem is, or maybe something you're not just sure about, get in touch with our support team and they can have a look at that with you. So Teresa, get in touch with our support team about that one if it's something you still want to use. Right, so that's the basics of setting up dashboards. I'm not going to go through all the widgets. I'll let you explore those yourself. If you have downloaded the handout, that link on that demonstration slide that was the last slide we looked at, the available widgets, that button will work for you. Really easy to find, as I say, within the help center though. And also, if you are on version 29, remember when you go into any of these areas, you've got the help option in the top right-hand corner. Now, if you did want to create a new dashboard, so it was, who mentioned it earlier? It was Faith. You mentioned earlier that you only have the one dashboard still. Sorry, it wasn't Faith. It was someone else I was looking at. Can't remember who it was now. There it is. Sorry, it was Orla. Orla, you mentioned you only had the business dashboard earlier. So if you want to create additional dashboards, you can go just a new dashboard. So in this case, because I'm on version 29, I still get these options, so I could create another business overview if I needed to. So have a look at that one, Orla, and you might just be a case if you want to create the supplier overview or the customer overview, or maybe you just want to create your own. So if I put my name in as an example, and I click create new, I've now just got a blank dashboard. And at this stage, I can start creating my own. So I'll just add a report widget, choose what it is I want to include. So I'll just say, maybe I want the P&L on there only. And if I was happy with that, just finish editing, build it. And again, you can go into settings and start changing the format of things that you want to see. Amy, you mentioned there, can you have multiple widgets? So your example there, could you have 2 business liquidity widgets? Not sure off the top of my head, but let's have a look. So we got it on twice. So something new for me, this one. We'll give it a quick try. So on this one, we'll say, actually, we want it picking up of the bank accounts list, that one only. So the answer to that one is yes, you can. So I've learned something new today as well. Again, for that sort of scenario as well, for business liquidity, you might go in, and that's a good example of where, rather than it just being called business liquidity, you might want to go in and edit your widget and change the name of it, or put that maybe an additional description in there just so you know what it relates to. But easy to get at the information otherwise. Norman, you mentioned as well, can you see which nominal codes are behind each widget function? For some, yes, not all, always, but obviously the widgets guide within the Help Center will explain how those calculate. So you'll be able to determine where that information comes from. Julia, also you mentioned as well, if you've got dashboards in version 28, will they essentially transfer across? Again, yes, they should. Shouldn't be a problem. It's part of your data file, that the widgets that you've got set up. So yes, but if you're on 28 and you got to 28.1 or 29, obviously you will have some extra widgets available to you. Right, so that's the basics of setting up dashboards and amending them. Obviously, might not just be yourself that needs to view them. So what we can do with a widget, if we go back to the very first one that we looked at, this business overview, and I go into edit mode again, what we can do is we've got a share dashboard option. Now, this share dashboard is used for if I want to share the dashboard with other Sage 50 users. So I might have Mark, for instance. I want to share that with them. So when they go into the business dashboards area, in this case, when Mark logs in, he'd be able to view this business dashboard that I've got set up. Whereas as Jackie's in the background, I'll say she can do both. So if she was to log into my Sage accounts, it means she can not only view it, but she'd also be able to amend it. So just save that, and that's it done. Likewise, they'd also be able to create widgets themselves from scratch if they've got access to that area. One thing to bear in mind is that Manager automatically has access to everybody's dashboard, so they don't need to share that back with the Manager login. So that's, again, just something to be aware of. And again, if I'm happy with that, just click Finish Editing, and that would be it done. That as soon as they log in, or next time they log in, the Access Business Dashboards, they'd be able to access that option. Ola, your other question there, can you do a dashboard for departments? You can't. You don't have that functionality yet. I'll quickly show you though, if you've got requests like that, once you start using it, you think, well, I know it can't do this. I wish it could. I'm going to show you how you can submit requests for dashboards going forward. So I'll pick that up in just a second. Right, now the other option when you're generating a dashboard, you may want to share it in other documents. You may want to just email a copy to someone, for instance. So just taking this as an example to get this dashboard and use it outside of Sage, there's not a report as such for the dashboard, but you do have the option to take a snapshot. So this will take a snapshot of it as essentially an image. So I just click on that one, copies the dashboard to the clipboard, click OK to that one. And then obviously I could, let's just say if I bring up an email, for instance, or let's say I want to pop it into Word as an example, I could paste that in. And that's where you might think, well, actually, you know, if you want to paste these in individually or you want it to look a little bit better, you may amend the layout a little bit. You may even just have loads of dashboards with the individual little bits of the individual widgets on them, so that you can copy and paste just that one section. So nice and easy to share it in that way as well. Right, let's not save that one. So that is dashboards in a nutshell. Now, if you've got any questions, we've had loads, so if we haven't had a chance to answer your question yet, do bear with us. We will try and sort of pick up as many as we can. As I say, it's just myself and Jackie on there this morning, and we always get loads of questions on these. Someone was asking there, can you print the dashboard screen? So Kerry Ann, you were asking that one, can you print it? Not a direct option to print it. It would be a case of you, I suppose, using the screenshot option and then pasting it into a separate application and then using that, the print option. Right, okay. Now, while we give you a further chance to pop in your questions, we'll quickly pop back to the slides. So remember, if you've got questions, to access that questions panel, it's just on your toolbar. It's a little icon that looks like the question mark inside the speech bubble. Just give it a click, it'll expand the panel, and you've got that little box in the bottom. But do bear with us with your questions. We've got a little bit of a backlog there. So we'll try and pick up as many as we can. Remember, you will receive an email later today containing the links so that you can register for future webinars and also to watch recordings. So there must be about 90 recordings of different topics we've run over the last year or so. So do check those out. As far as upcoming webinars is concerned, just to give you an idea of some of the topics we've got planned in over the next couple of weeks, we've got VAT return on Monday. We'll be looking at the flat rate schemes for the VAT return. We obviously cover the standard normal VAT return. We cover that one each month as well, but specifically we're going to look from a flat rate scheme perspective. We've got recurring items coming up. So again, maybe saving you a little bit of time, those things like the direct debits and standing orders, really good example, setting those up as a recurring item. Just saves you having to key them in each month. So it can be a good little time saver, that one. Customer reports we're looking at next week, departments and budgets, another favourite, bank reconciliation. And this afternoon, if anyone is free at 2 o'clock, we are also, or Jackie's going to be taking you through a session on looking at disputes, so setting up the dispute reasons and how you go about flagging transactions, etc. So plenty of time to get registered. If you can't make any of the sessions, keep your links handy from one of your follow-up emails that you receive. It's always the same links that you receive, and you'll be able to access the recordings as well. So I mentioned at the beginning, you can register for webinars currently up to the end of August. We'll shortly be adding on our September timetable as well. One session to be aware of, so 29.2, that will be coming out in the next couple of months, should be available. And as part of that, there will be an updated bank feeds option. So you can now register for that, a webinar on that, just so you can see that in advance of the release, so you can see that what that looks like. So if you want to learn about bank feeds or see what the new interface looks like when you're using a bank feed, much more pleasing on the eye. You've got that added functionality in there now, a bit easier when it comes to matching transactions. So if you are wanting to see that one, please get yourself signed up for one of those sessions. They'll be starting in the next couple of weeks. You'll probably see a lot of advertising surrounding that as well. Right, okay, back to questions. So I'll try and pick some of them up as well. Let's see what we've got. Greg, you mentioned there, can you go back to the time restrictions? Can you restrict the P&L by time sensitivity? It is always based on year to date, the P&L option, and the only option you have to impact on the time is, do you want to compare the current year to date against the previous year to date? That's the only option you've got in relation to that. Another question: if we've changed the default nominal codes, does it pick these up, or will we need to edit the dashboards? So it depends what the widget is. So we looked at the liquidity one, for instance, where part of the liquidity was looking at the bank accounts. So by default, chances are it's just going to be a case of you going in, and if you've got bank accounts set up, it's going to know which are your bank account records because of your bank accounts list, and that's what you're going to be presented with when you go into the liquidity option and you click on that first drop down. So that's how it's going to know. Things like the P&L, for instance, it'll be based around your chart of accounts. So it'll use your default chart of accounts as well. So just in case anyone's looking at the P&L thinking that looks nothing like the P&L when I run it, just make sure you've got your right chart of accounts set as your what you term your default chart of accounts. It should then be picking up the right information. Julie, you mentioned there, can you do a cash flow forecast? Let me share my screen a little bit, just while we go through some of this as well. So there's not an option itself to do a cash flow forecast within the dashboards area, but if you have a look within your bank accounts area, you do have the cash flow option. So that's what you would, in that case, that's what you would use. We're thinking about possibly running a webinar on the cash flow option, possibly in September. Quick question there from Sarah as well. How do you remove a widget from a dashboard? Well, I think Jackie's picking that one up. I'll quickly demonstrate that one as well if I can. So quickly into business dashboard. We'll just edit this business overview as the example. And let's say I wanted to get rid of, this debtor days. You would have the delete option, but you've got to be in that edit mode. So click on it, it's going to remove it, and then we'll just click finish editing, and that's it done. And again, if that's a shared dashboard, obviously that would impact on everyone else that's got access to that one. Now, one thing I do want to mention to you, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, so we've looked at dashboards. It was first introduced in version 28. And since then, in 28.1, there was an additional 6 of the widgets that you now have available. 6 of those were made available to you. And the reason for that is that obviously when you release a feature, something like dashboard, there's always that sort of, we think we know what people want, but you're never quite sure. So if there's anything that you think, well, actually, I wish it would show this, or again, a few people have mentioned about restricting things like the P&L. I want it to by department, or certain, I only want it to show the first quarter, the second quarter, that type of thing. Anything like that, all you need to do, and I'm not promising you that you will definitely get this within the software, but if you've got any requests like that, and that goes for anything else to do with the software as well, all you need to do is go to the home page. So I'm in version 29. So you've got the home page in the top left corner on your navigation bar. Give it a click, And then if we just scroll down, you've got your roadmap option in the bottom left corner. So that's going to take you across to this page. Now, if you've been on any of the new features webinars over the last year or so, you'd be familiar with this. I talk about this quite a bit in those types of sessions about getting involved, engaging with us, letting us know what you think about features, what is it you want to see. So if you want to play a sort of catch up, you've got your features that have been delivered already, but if you've got anything you'd like to see in the software, so maybe you're using the dashboards and you want, actually, I wish it would do this, then let us know, submit an idea or vote on those ideas. Just click your link. It'll take you across to what we term Sage City. So some of you might be familiar with that, some of you probably not. But this is where you can submit your ideas and your requests. So when we first released those dashboards, loads of requests straight away. Can we have this? Can we have that? We need this information. So anything like that, you will need to set yourself up with a logon, but just to view it, you don't need to. But if you want to submit a suggestion, you'll be able to join or sign up. That's all included as part of your membership, etc. But this is where people get involved. So these are the ideas. So as I say, we get loads of these. So it is the 13th today. So we've had 2 comments on there already. Grouping supplier records. So possibly sometimes there's a way around that. Maybe there's an option already there. Quite often when we look at things like grouping supplier records, for instance, you might think, well, actually, we could just use the analysis fields, and it might just be something that you weren't aware of. So you would get a response, but again, you can vote on these options as well. The more votes that these options do get, the more likely they are to be included. And that's what happened with dashboards. So we're looking at dashboards, we just released it, and we think, well, what else are people wanting? This is where we get those suggestions from. So do get involved, do use that. So again, just to confirm how you would get to that page if you are wanting to get involved, it was just your home button on your navigation bar, which will take you to this page. Again, it may look a little bit different depending on your resolution or which version you're on, but into the home page, and then you just scroll down and it's this roadmap link, bottom left corner. So get involved. Don't just think, oh, I've been wanting it to do this for years. Let us know. It could be a massive change to the software, great big feature. It could be sometimes it's the simplest of features. Simple feature that went into version 29 was your product record description, the part number. Those fields were just increased in length. Again, it's quite a very, very popular request, that one. So get involved. Right, okay, what we will do, I'll have a good look through the rest of the questions and see what's come through later on today. And if there's anything outstanding that we maybe haven't touched on in today's session, we'll be in touch. Otherwise, if you think of any questions afterwards as well, then get in touch with our support team or check out the information in the Help Centre as well. Right, we're going to end the webinar at that point. I hope you've enjoyed it today, found it useful, giving you a little bit of an insight into the business dashboards. So many thanks for coming along. Hope it just makes your accounting pro journey that a little bit easier, giving you access to that information. Have a go of it, you can't do any harm. Let us know how you get on with it as well. Now, there will be a short survey pop up as you leave today's session, so if you can take a minute to complete that, we'd greatly appreciate it. We love those comments to see if we're hitting the mark or not. If you've got any ideas, thoughts that you want to share with us, pop it on there. Your follow-up email should be with you in around about an hour's time, so that will include links to register for upcoming webinars, including this afternoon's if you want to come along and hear about disputes, and also links so you can watch recordings, and there'll be a link to a recording of one of these dashboard sessions as well. So that should be with you in around about an hour's time. Once again, many thanks for taking your time to attend. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars soon. Many thanks.